So with all-out war breaking out in the Middle East, people are now ramping up the extremism in every which direction. And the thing that probably disturbs me the most is when you have people with power who have lost their goddamn minds. It's one thing for somebody with no power at all and no ability to affect policy to have insane opinions. I mean, that's kind of par for the course, and we've seen a lot of that. Just check the last segment that we did, for example. But it's another thing when somebody who can really affect an outcome to just absolutely lose their goddamn mind and go full genocidal. So look at this. Israeli official calls for doomsday nuclear missile option. So you have an Israeli politician who apparently wants to nuke Gaza. Couldn't make this up if you tried. So this is in Newsweek. They say an Israeli lawmaker is calling for her nation's military to use nuclear warfare in response to attacks by Hamas. Revital Tali Gottlieb, an Israeli lawyer and member of the Knesset for the Likud, that's Netanyahu's party, published multiple posts advocating for a forceful retaliation following a surprise attack on Gaza on Saturday at the hands of the militant Palestinian group designated as a terrorist organization by the U.S. More than 1,600 combined Israelis and Palestinians have reportedly been killed since Hamas launched attacks. By the way, let me pause there to say it's actually over 2,000 now. In the next segment I'm going to give you a full breakdown of all the updates and everything that's unfolding on the ground, according to the Associated Press, and hundreds of others have been injured. Hamas has reportedly taken an unknown number of hostages as the conflict has escalated. Quote, Jericho missile, strategic alert. Before considering the introduction of forces, doomsday weapon. This is my opinion. May God preserve all our strength. Gottlieb wrote on X, formerly Twitter, on Monday, according to a translation. Another post says, I urge you to do everything and use doomsday weapons fearlessly against our enemies, adding that Israel must use everything in its arsenal. On Tuesday, she continued with her calls of urgency. Only an explosion that shakes the Middle East will restore this country's dignity, strength, and security, Gottlieb posted. It's time to kiss doomsday, shooting powerful missiles without limit, not flattening a neighborhood, crushing and flattening Gaza, without mercy, without mercy. Gaza is almost half kids under the age of 18. There are all sorts of women and children in there, and innocent civilians in there. In fact, I saw a poll the other day, 50% of Gazans want a two-state solution with the 1967 borders. 62% want a ceasefire. Hamas was elected all the way back in 2005, and they've held on to power since. The idea Hamas is representative of everybody in Gaza, or Palestinians more generally, untrue. But she's saying, hey, collective punishment. The problem with what Hamas did to us was collective punishment because they were murdering innocent civilians. So in response to that, I would also like to do collective punishment and nuke innocent civilians. She also stressed a swift response from her own government in response to Hamas laughing at the country. Nikola Sokov, senior fellow at the Vienna Center for Disarmament and Nonproliferation, told Newsweek via email that loose talk regarding nuclear weapons has become prevalent and more commonplace in recent years due to the war in Ukraine and now the escalation in Gaza. By the way, let me also pause to say this. Is this an admission that Israel indeed does have nukes? Because the speculation for a long time has been, oh, they definitely have nukes. But it hasn't been publicly stated or acknowledged. Is this Knesset member saying this verification? Is this proof that indeed, yeah, of course we have nukes? Part of it is understandable, he said, due to serious security crises, a lack of knowledge about nuclear weapons, visible political positions, and more people generally pondering the use of such weapons and the effect on a global scale. Quote, for Israel, such loose talk is perhaps even more damaging because the country does not even admit it has nuclear weapons. So an indirect confirmation is not good for its image. Sokov added that Gottlieb's call for escalatory measures is nearsighted for two reasons. One, any potential targets are in the immediate vicinity, hence damage to Israel would be considerable. And two, the military utility of nuclear weapons is often grossly overestimated, especially by those who have limited or no knowledge of nuclear weapons. Quote, there are effectively no targets for nuclear weapons in this war/conflict. Oh, okay. How are we even entertaining this conversation? How are we even sincerely having this conversation? Should we use you? I don't know. Let's talk about the pros and cons of nuking Gaza. This is insane. Again, the problem with what Hamas did is they massacred innocent civilians. That's bad. That's terrorism. You cannot respond to that by saying, let's do the same thing, except ramp up the casualty number. Jesus Christ. Okay, so this is the stage of the of the war that we're at right now. And by the way, just so we're clear, this is what's actually going on the ground. An Israeli defense minister ordered the total siege of Gaza. This is like medieval style siege. There will be no electricity, no food, no fuel. We are fighting human animals, and we will act accordingly. So if you think it's bad now, buckle up. It's going to get a hell of a lot worse. And I don't see an off-ramp. I see nothing but on-ramps in every which direction, and that should terrify all of us. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.